we bumped into each other briefly in Lowlands, and yeah, I did that classic thing of assuming that because I know the person, because I recognize the person I'm talking to, that just by virtue of that fact, they'll obviously recognize me and know what I'm talking about when I start talking to them. And you were incredibly confused. So yeah, it's good. It's good that we have time now for me to, what would you call it? Make myself seem more normal or less.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was all fine. To be fair, even if you were our best friend, I still think over event days it can be slightly delusional.
It must be weird for you guys though, because like you're surely approached like a lot of people. I think I had like two people came up, and I that's very new to me, and I don't know what to say or do or how to react. And I know I made it awkward the first time, and I didn't intend to. But I know in hindsight, I was like, I probably could have handled that scenario better. But like, you must get, because I know you had like a little fan, like a specific time and place at one point.
Now you know what it's
walking around.
It's the people that we meet, like you know how it is. It's without them, you don't have anything. So it's like I love meeting everyone, and it was weird the first few times, but it kind of just comes with the job in a way. But then also it's like I say to people, we're the best sort of like, I don't know how you'd say it. I wouldn't say celebrity, but the best sort of level, because you can go to a CrossFit event, it's very niche, and like a lot of people know you, so you get stopped for photos all the time, and without those people you'd be nothing. But then you leave the event and you're an absolute no one to the rest of the world, and it's like the best level. I couldn't imagine what it's like to be Justin Bieber, where like you go to work and everyone knows you go to the shops and everyone knows you. That would be,
you go to like the craziness of Wodapalooza, and it's like for us it's such a buzz, and it's like just absolute mental atmosphere for a whole week, and then you kind of finish that and you're like, oh wow, imagine that being like your everyday. And then it starts to twig, like, now I know why Brittany maybe shaved her hair off, like like we're so grateful for it. But it's like, imagine if that was literally your like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like that would be mad. But it's crazy. It's just like fun for us, I think. So I remember back in like 2016, I think Meridian Regionals was when we first got like, you're like Craig and Jaz, Team Richie. And we were like, whoa, that's so weird. Like really strange. Like the first time we'd ever been stopped for it.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, we wouldn't, like Craig said, we wouldn't have any of this without people supporting us. So we're just super grateful.
And we have cool people at the gym that when we go back home, they're like, why do people want pictures with you? And I'm like, I don't know either,
Brought back down to earth with a bang when you meet your friends. There's a guy in Ireland that does he has a podcast, but they had like a number one song in the charts at one stage, and like they wear like the old plastic shopping bags, like the carrier bags, like from the real rippable plastic ones.
Yeah,
they wear them on their heads, like with eye holes cut out and a mouth hole. And he, like, loads of people are like he go on talk shows and stuff, and he's fucking crazy intelligent. Like he knows loads of shit about loads of shit. But he's really good on like psychology and mental health and all that kind of stuff. And his podcast is absolutely massive. But he's like been on talk shows, and he'd be asked like, why do you wear like a plastic bag? And he's like, why does everyone else not? Like he was like, nobody knows who I am. I can just I could be walking out the back door of the studio, take it off, nobody's gonna know who I am. He's like, I could walk down like a busy street with it on, I get stopped every 5 seconds, but once I take it off, nobody knows who I am. And like up until that point, I've been like, this guy's fucking loopers, like going around wearing a bag in his head all the time. And then I was like, holy shit, it's genius. He's right. Like everyone should be doing it. Like it's genius.
Dead Mouse and Marshmallow, like they kind of have the same.
I just don't know how you get in contact with him. Imagine the wrong person turning up to the studio with a bag on his head.
He actually said they were playing a gig in like Cork or somewhere, which is like down the south of the country, and the same time and day his band were playing a gig in Donegal, which is the north end of the country. So he was like, people were definitely just like putting on shopping bags saying, oh yeah, that's us, and like bringing a CD of theirs and just playing it.
Real hustlers.
Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Coffee is something that I usually chat to people about, and I don't normally get the chance to talk to people who have their own coffee. So how did that come about? I assume coffee is obviously a big interest for you to go that far.
Yeah, I just love coffee, and to be fair, I just, you know, when you're drinking it, I'm like, I just want my own. So this one company reached out and they're like, we supply beans and we roast them in the UK and whatnot, and we'll send you a load of different blends and everything and original beans and whatever to try, and just pick your best. And if you want to start a coffee company, start a coffee company. And that's really what we did.
Yeah.
I'm not super coffee, right? So like, I'm a bean to cup guy. So I
Yeah.
appreciate a good bean when it goes bean to cup. Like, we have friends like Josh and Jack who we're at the box with every day, who love the whole, you know, tamp it down, you get the flow right and everything. Like, that's just not me. I'm a very instantaneous dude. But yeah, that was just basically a very short story about how it came about.
We got to taste test it all, and it was, it's one of those things that's like, oh, we both love coffee so much, and like we have it every morning. It's like, well, why not make our own coffee? Like, CrossFit and coffee goes so well together anyway. So we figured, why don't just do our own? And I actually love ours as well. It tastes so good. So
is it hard when you're launching something like that? Because that's like a different you know, a different branch or a different art. Like, it's very different from what you had been doing. So then
yeah, you just don't, it's like everything though, like when you launch a product, we found the same with the clothing and everything, you just start small.
Yeah. But is it hard not to just blurt everything out all at once? And like, because, you know, like when you're really proud of something or happy, or even just a new fucking jumper or something that you're releasing, and you're really like, oh, everyone's gonna love this, and you're like, oh, we need to like build anticipation a bit, or we need to not just like, you know, blow our load immediately. We have to like, you know, get drip feed it. Is it hard to hold back and stuff?
I think like you can just tell, like when we're really happy about something, you like, we don't need to say, you can probably read it on our face, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're just like, we kind of have it. It's quite easy for us, I suppose, in a way, because everything that we do and have like is incorporated into our day-to-day lives and videos and stuff anyway. So we don't really need to say a lot if we didn't want to, you know. It's the same with like the brands that we work with. It's why we don't really work with many brands, and the brands that we do work with are people that we're genuinely invested in them and the products and, you know, the stuff that they do, because we're not here to kind of sell something we're not genuinely using. So it's easier for us, just if you're actually using it in your life, you might as well, you know, you're going to see it day to day anyway. And it was quite a fun process actually, because Craig's friend from school actually did all the designs and stuff for the coffee company. And that was really cool to kind of see a different aspect when you've worked on Hustle Made, the clothing company, for so long, being able to kind of diversify and do the Hustle Made Coffee Co. and have all the artwork behind that. And he included Carla, our dog, and like some of the graphics and stuff. And it was like just little things that are quite personal to us, but like it just looks cool to people. So yeah, it was a fun process. We've not really had chance to kind of go 100% into it yet, because we've got a lot going on with the clothing company in this first half of the year. But once kind of we get towards the end of summer, I feel like we've kind of finished chasing our tail with quite a lot of things that we've got going on. So hopefully second half of the year we can kind of put a bit more energy back into the coffee company.
It was more of a fun thing, you know, when we're doing the coffee, rather than being like, right, this is like a proper big business venture that we're really going to put everything behind. It was more like, yeah, let's have some fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, hang on. The entire way through that, my microphone was like really slowly just like slipping down towards me, and I was like, I don't know what's causing this to happen, but if I try to fix this, coming
slowly like going out of shot.
You wouldn't get this on a professional show.
Yeah, but
the big issue I have with it actually is that it's clamped onto the desk, which like is fine. But then like if I kick the desk by accident, or like, you know, like just tap anything, it goes through the metal and all the way up and into the sound of the thing. And then I always see other people like, you know, like Jason that does the CrossFit Bath, and he, you know, plays chat and that kind of stuff. He has a mic. I don't know where the fuck he got it. He got it in like the future or something. It like comes like horizontally from out of picture, comes across and just hovers in front of him. Like it's on an arm or whatever. But I don't know what it is. It's like bolted into the wall or something. I don't know how he has it at the perfect angle. It's really fucking annoying. Okay, sorry. So like so the coffee is like a new, like a fun venture, and I'm assuming that's how the vlogging started as well. Would that be fair, that it was just kind of like a
Yeah. I was doing physiotherapy at the time at uni, and I was like, like I loved it, but I didn't want to go into a 9-to-5 job. But then also I saw one guy on YouTube called Christian Guzman, who was like a physique vlogger at the time, and that's what I was doing. And I was like, wow, he looks like he's having fun. So let's try. I want to have a go and make videos. And then came out of physiotherapy, got my degree, but then I was like, instead of going into a full 9-to-5, like I don't want to lose all that time. I'm gonna actually go all in on this vlogging and see if I can make something happen. So I did a PT. I started PTing people so I could be flexible. And then, yeah, like it for the first 2 years, no one really watched. But it was like, I'm just going to keep going because I'm enjoying it, you know, and especially when you start something new, you do enjoy it. So it was enjoyment at the start. Now it's more of a job, but I still love it. Like I feel like I have the best job in the world. Like, you know what I mean? But
And are all the skills like self-taught, like say the editing and
yeah,
is that all?
oh, yeah.
So have you ever gone back and watched like, like
They're
say
all
your
there, you know, like I keep them there for mementos. I don't necessarily go back and watch them. But if people do want to go and watch them, they'll be like, "Who is that kid?"
Yeah, I always think it's so funny. Even if I go back to an episode from last month, or if I scroll back through my Instagram and see something that I put out like, I don't know, like 6 months ago, that at the time I was like, this is game changing. This is the best thing I've ever done. Now I look at it and be like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, why did I think that was a good idea? It's so funny how like quickly you evolve at it. When did the two of you get together then? How far into like after you had started vlogging, we'll say?
You were so I've been on the scene pretty much as long as you've ever seen a CrossFit vlog, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, I met her at CrossFit.
Because Craig moved over from bodybuilding to CrossFit from after he finished doing his physique stuff. You were like, you felt super unhealthy, didn't you?
Yeah,
like,
I looked good, but didn't feel good. So
looked great, but the lungs
I
didn't
need
work.
to go and get some of this fitness in my life, sort of thing. And then
Yeah.
Jaz was there, and she'd never put anything more than 5s on the bar, but like she was, you know, a good looking girl there. You're like, ooh.
Well, thank you.
She's all right, she is. And then yeah, you know, she wasn't interested, and she said she liked people over 6 foot, and I went, it's not me either.
You can only
But then
imagine.
it was a challenge, you know what I mean?
Imagine what it was like.
Yeah.
With him being a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You're surely close enough to 6 foot, no?
Different to the Craig now.
Yeah, I'm like 5'10 and a half, 5'11.
You
I
can
wear
call
some
it.
big ass wedges on the bottom of my feet. I could reach 6 foot, but
And your lifters?
just a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
I hate to make it taller because I'm barely 5'4". So yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's perspective. I'm always seeing you together, and then I'm like, God, he must be a giant.
Or if I had a pound, or maybe a tenner, probably every time someone said you're not smaller in real life, I'd be quite rich.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, is that intended as a compliment, or are you trying to? I don't know what you're trying to say when you say that.
It's worse because obviously the Dutch is like the tallest nation in the world.
They're fucking crazy tall.
Literally, like I was just walking around like this the whole time.
But they're all
so small.
They're all really tall, and they all look like. Okay, maybe they don't all look like. I probably shouldn't start any sentence with "they all look like." I found that Dutch people, while walking around, a lot of them looked like, like characters in those kind of police, like European police dramas. They were all like tall, handsome. Almost all of them had like the same haircut, and they were all wearing like suits, but not like suits. They were like kind of semi-casual suits. Yeah, and I don't know. And they're like weirdly tall nation. Like my wife's cousin is married to a Dutch guy, and he has to be like 9 foot. Like he's just massive. But she was saying that all kids there are like short and fat until they're like 2, and then they just like stretch like 2 feet, and then they just stretch another foot, and like that. Yeah, so I don't know. There's obviously just something in whatever land they reclaimed from the sea. So when he was doing videos and like uploading stuff, was it like had you any kind of like apprehension of appearing in them or being in them or being a, like, because it's obviously
Jaz would be great on the camera, but then as soon as I handed her the camera, especially for the first couple of years, she would just freeze.
Yeah.
I don't think it was apprehension or anything, to be honest. It was just like the awkwardness of speaking to a camera when obviously you're just talking to a camera.
It's just very different when you're not used to it. Like if I'm just in the background, allowed to just be me and doing whatever I'm doing, then that's fine. But as soon as I like actually held the camera, I was like, oh, what do I say? What do I do? It's like you don't realize it'd be that different, but it really is.
It's not easy to get stuff flowing sometimes, you know what I mean? Especially when you've got no feedback. If you're talking to people like I'm talking to you, you can easily start a conversation and you can go into wherever avenue. But if it's just a camera, like you're talking to you know?
I suppose it was just like a natural integration as well of like our life, because it was very much like a lifestyle vlog, and we'd just film our life for the day. And we went through a phase of you did daily vlogs for every day for over a year.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that again.
When Casey Neistat was there as the inspiration and he was doing his daily vlogs, and so it's been pretty crazy. It's just kind of like naturally integrated into our lives. Like our lives have always been like that now together.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose like from the start, my background is in like business management and marketing. I've always been very creative, but with zero direction as to what to put the energy into. So this for me was like really fun. It was like, oh, I was a bit of a dreamer and just thought, well, yeah, a bit carefree. I was like, you know what, go for it. We've got no commitments, no, like, whilst we've got nothing else going on, just put everything into this. If it works, it works. And if not, we'll figure it out. So I don't know, I suppose I was just kind of the free spirit that encouraged him to kind of go down that line as well. And
to be honest, I didn't really have any plan B. You know, when people ask like, oh, you know, like, what would you do if you didn't vlog? I'm like, well, I started and I was going to keep going. And if it didn't work, you have to have the mindset though, when you're doing something that is going to work, right? Like you don't start something and then be like, well, I'm not going to be successful in this. You know what I mean? Like you don't do that, do you? You know, you don't start off and be like, one day I'm just not going to be successful in this, but I'll keep doing it. Like I did start vlogging and doing all the stuff because I saw someone else be successful at it. And I was like, yeah, I think, you know, like I'm going to enjoy this journey and have fun with it, but I feel like I can make something out of it too. But it's just, 2 years of nobody watching, you know, like you putting videos out to then it gradually snowballing and becoming what it is today. Like people are like, did you ever see it being this big? And I'm like, well, like kind of, like I hoped about it and like I was going to keep going until it happened like this. So yeah, but obviously when it's happening and then you reach a point where it's at now, you're like, wow, I'm here, you know. But
is it like, can you remember a point in time where you were like, oh fuck, it's happening, like it's taking off?
No, not really, because it's been gradual. We've not had like viral, you know, like a lot of people, they become famous because they do one thing or two things and it becomes really like such a big hit and then they just explode. Whereas I feel like we did the Road to the Open series and we got like the first 10 to 20,000 subscribers. And then from there, it's just been like a gradual, just continue to grow. Then the content just got better because we obviously had more access to the athletes and behind the scenes stuff. And it just kind of gradually just kept growing and it's still gradually just keeping on growing. It's never been like, you know.
Yeah. Do you think you benefited from like the media team at HQ being disbanded? Like say people who otherwise might have been kept at more of an arm's length, if you know what I mean?
I don't think it's necessarily the media team. I feel like it was the setup of the CrossFit events definitely benefited. It didn't just benefit us. I feel like it benefited the sport being in the sanctionals format, just because it kept the sport kind of, there was games tickets available almost year round. Like there was always hype about the sport year round. And I feel like that was probably the most hyped I've ever felt, the community being around CrossFit.
Yeah.
Then we never really got to trial another year of it because it got scrapped anyway. And then COVID has kind of obviously, you know, killed everything off event wise for nearly 3 years now. So I feel like we're just slowly trying to get back into it. Probably the same with regardless of what business athlete whatever you're in.
To answer your question, no, I don't think the media team disbanding made any real difference. You know, like they were making their content from like HQ sort of way and how they were storytelling. And we were very much like the people on the ground that do our own storytelling and are friends with the athletes and show them off in a different way, you know, like a more just day-to-day lifestyle. So I feel like we would have continued to do that regardless if they still had a media team or if they didn't have a media team, you know.
Like it's not direct competition. It's we're doing two different things almost. We're more from like a community perspective, I suppose, to a certain extent.
Is it ever hard, say, like, because I know you do your news show as well, is it hard, like, because I say, like, by and large everything you share is kind of like, it's positive, it's like positive information, or, well, obviously some shit stories come out and they're covered, but I mean, by and large it's like people either fails that people have done that are funny and have little or no consequence, or like positive news that people have, or, you know, good news stories about athletes or competitions or whatever, that kind of stuff. But is it ever hard to balance, like, say, impartiality with not pissing off, like, a competition that you regularly go to, and like, you're, you know, an athlete that you regularly work with, or a coach of an athlete that you regularly are friends with or spend time with, or whatever it is? Do you ever find yourself having to balance that, or do you think that because of the stories that you tell, you get to avoid it?
Yeah, I've always been one of those people. Like, the thing is with the YouTube videos that we make, right? They're like 10 to 20 minutes long, maybe less. And that's just like a highlight of a day. And you want people to come home and put it on and just have a laugh with it and whatever and enjoy it. There's no need for me to make any drama around nothing. Like, the people that we hang around with, I only want to show them off in the best light. Like, for me, and then the athletes get that. And I feel like that's why we get a lot of access, because, you know, like, we could capture something on the camera that, you know, people would maybe take the wrong way. Like, if it's even on the edge, I just won't include it, because it's just, for me, like, I want it to be PG. I want kids to be watching that are freaking 5 years old and like be inspired by these people to go and do CrossFit. I want people that, you know, come home from a work day and just want to enjoy it too. Like, I just want to have that fun 10 minutes, you know, and I feel like the athletes know that too.
Well, you're just not there to out anybody.
Yeah,
because like, also everybody has like their bad little moments. Like, we all have them. You know, you might, you know, have a little spat at a kettlebell and just be like, you know, and but like, why do we need to include that to make you look like whatever?
And whenever in the news videos there's like a bad bit of news or whatever, like, I'll just tell you what's happened. I'm not going to give my opinion on it. I don't want to, like, because opinions can be taken completely wrong ways. I'll give you the news. If it's there, people should know it, and then just move on, you know, let people form their own opinion.
We've developed the channel to be like more of a platform, to be like, this is the information, this is as much information as we can give you, the good points and the bad points. You can make your own decision. We're not trying to sway you either way. We're not here to be controversial, you know, we're not here for the drama. Just, this is the information, make with it what you will, kind of thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable as well, though, because I've noticed, like, say, when you put up the video of when Castro was fired, and, you know, like, other things, like all those kind of big events where you sort of anticipate that the comment section will just turn into a sewer. Like, the community that you seem to have built, like, it's remarkable how there's, I couldn't find anything negative in any comment section of any video or post. Like, it's remarkable how, like, I know you say that you don't share your opinion, but, like, I'm sure there's people who follow you that want to know your opinion. So it's remarkable how you've avoided having to do it and cultivated a community that don't, like, demand it or don't get pissed off when it's not given. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we have a good team, to be honest, around us. Like, I like all the people that are in my comment section and stuff. They can have their own debates, you know. That's the fun part about it. You give them the news and they can debate between themselves. But also the positivity, yeah, like, a lot of YouTubers get a lot more hate, whereas I feel like, I don't know, we've steadily built our community, and I feel like the CrossFit community is the same, you know, like, they just, if you do CrossFit, you're generally just one of those people that just enjoys working out, going to have fun and hang out and drink a beer and have another beer, like the meme thing keeps saying. But you know what I mean? Like, you're a certain person that does CrossFit, I feel like, and then you're a certain person that watches the videos. So that's when I feel like some people would be very controversial. People just get us.
I honestly don't know why it's developed like that, but we have said on a number of occasions how lucky we are to have the audience that we've got.
Yeah,
I feel
it's like
very
pets, you
fortunate.
know, like if you have dogs and you're pretty chill, you know, usually your dog ends up pretty chill unless they're a collie, you know. I mean, like, I feel like it's the same with the videos, you know, your energy attracts the same sort of energy, you know. If you're one of those people that is very controversial, wants to attack this, that, and everything, moan about stuff, you'll probably get the same people watching those videos that have the same mentality.
They just get drawn to the drama, like
Yeah.
mob mentality.
Whereas
Just
we're
all
very
band
just
together.
chill and like, we're gonna have fun with it and you're gonna come for the ride, and they're like, yeah, cool, I'm in. And that's how I feel like our community is.
Yeah, because like YouTube it's just above Twitter in the, oh man, like this is a hard read. You know, when you start like scrolling down through comments, like most of the time, like Instagram tends to be fairly relaxed, like fairly, you know, there's never really that much bad stuff. There's a lot of stupid stuff, but not really that much bad stuff in comments and stuff. It's kind of fairly, you know, soft. But then when you go to Twitter, it's like, geez, like what is going on here? And then when you go to YouTube,
Probably put that
Twitter,
in.
Twitter is it's psychotic. Like it's like, how is this happen? Like, why are you all here? Like every so often I go onto it, you know, like if there's some big news story is broken, I'd be like, oh, just go and see like what's been said about it. And I go on, I'm like, no, abort. So it's like, get out of here. But yeah, I find YouTube is quite similar. But I think it's kind of changing a bit now, where say you guys have it because you've kind of, as you've said, you kind of slowly built that like consistent approach where you didn't have that viral moment where 10,000 randomers suddenly found it and stuck around. You had like where one person found it and then they told 10 friends, and then, you know, that kind of way. Whereas I think like say I don't know, like say Savan's page is different because his comment section tends to be all like-minded people who agree with what he's saying. But I feel like if, you know, other people came along and were reading those comments, they were like, oh geez, like, you know, this is all, I don't know, like I kind of feel like it's all about perspective. And when you hear the whole conversation of somebody, you're kind of like, all right, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with what they're saying, but I get it, I guess. Whereas a lot of people on YouTube especially will click onto something and they'll listen to a minute and then, or they'll read the headline and be like, no, fuck this, and they'll leave a comment. So yeah, no, I'm very very, I don't know, an admirable stance on how you've managed to keep your page so, I don't know, like clean or something. It's just so like it's all the comments and everything are so wholesome. Like,
I want all the kids to get involved, everything, you know, like I want to inspire generations. I don't want to be that person that they look at and go, yeah, he was very controversial. I had to watch him by myself. Like my kids couldn't get involved. Like when we're hanging out with Fraser and we're showing off his life, or same like with Tia or Rich and stuff, like I want to make a video that everyone can enjoy. I don't want no drama. That's just not us, you know. Like people, the only bad comment I get, but I think it's a good comment, they call me vanilla. I'm like, yeah, well, I like vanilla. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm very plain in the middle.
well, I think it obviously garners trust then from, well, obviously if you're friends with people, so if you're friends with Matt and Tia and whoever else, they're going to trust you anyway. But like, all they have to do is look at any of the videos you've done with anyone and be like, I mean, even if anything happens, it's not going to be included. If anything bad happens, it's not going to be included, because all these people trust them and they all trust them for a reason. And then none of the videos they put out are like clickbait or, you know, controversial or anything like that. So it kind of garners trust straight away, I suppose, keeping it that way too.
We got lucky, not lucky, but where Shane used to watch the videos. So well, obviously Shane Orr. And yeah, one day he just messaged us and then we met him in Miami and after the competition. And that's where we kind of got a bit lucky, and they knew that we were just genuine people. And then they invited us if we wanted to go to Australia. So we did that. And then we just did videos there. And then they were like, oh, you should come.
No, we went to
South Africa, that was the main thing. What did I say?
Australia.
Yeah, well, same stuff.
Completely same but different.
But then after that trip, I remember like she was like, they were like, oh, you should come out to Cookville, and you know, then we can introduce you to Matt. She was training at Matt at the time, and then obviously then you've built the trust, and then they see you doing videos, and then obviously other athletes want that exposure too, and to show them off in the good light and everything, and that's how it kind of grew.
But that must have been fucking insane though, when they're like, oh, come to South Africa with us, and then, oh, come to Cookville. Like, you must be like, what is happening? This is so
yeah,
weird.
it's weird. It's the for me the weirdest one, the surreal one was when we went to Richie's barn, I found that really weird. Like you come through the trees or whatever, and you just see the barn that you've seen, obviously, in a lot of old school CrossFit documentaries and everything. And it's just like, it was just a moment where you're like, this is happening, you know what I mean? Like it was very like, whoa, what's going on?
We feel very grateful for all the
Yeah.
opportunities we've had, to be honest, but it's been like, it's funny because like people see kind of where you're at now, but they forget the 7 years that it's taken us to kind of, like, I used to work, like absolutely work my ass off. Like I worked so long hours at my job. It was like crazy busy. I'd finish work, I'd come back, we'd go and do a box tour somewhere. Like every weekend was taken up with box tours to try and help get us out there, try and grow the channel. Like we went through and like put the legwork in. And I probably should have quit my job a lot sooner than I did, but I just couldn't. Like I've worked on like the farm since I was 12 years old. Like I'm used to I've always had money coming in. So it's a huge thing to like give up something that makes you so independent to be like, just take that risk and drop it to work on what we've got going on. And it got to the point where we'd launched Hustle as a clothing brand. The channel was doing really well, but everything was so busy. And it was coming into sanctional season, the very first one, wasn't it? And it got to the Christmas and we went to Dubai. And obviously then we had Wadapalooza straight after, and then Norway, I think. And I was like, right, I've got to leave. Like I've got to quit my job because there's just no way that we can do all of this and like start to run the clothing business. Because like that's my thing. Craig edits the videos. Like it's why I think we can work together so well, because even though we're together all the time, we are working on separate things basically. But it was a big risk and a big gamble, and it's like it takes a while to get there. And it's the same with building trust for people. You know, you just have to continually just show who you are over time. And like literally with me and Craig, what you see is what you get. Like you couldn't do videos as often as we do and be anybody else. So I think it's just kind of staying true to who you are. And like I say, we're not a news outlet as such. We're not a newspaper. We're not a magazine there to out anybody. We want to have a good time, make friends, grow the sport, get people involved. Like it's all very much what you see is what you get, I suppose.
You competed in Wadapalooza with Kevin Vinkins. I can't remember the third person who's on the team.
Mikey,
yeah.
The baguette man. It looks like every muscle is a baguette.
So you like I've seen you do, you know, like questions and answers and stuff. And a lot of the time you used to get asked, oh, are you going to compete? Or are you going to, you know, make a games run? Or are you going to, like, is it when you're, because obviously you're really fit, like you're way fitter than I am, you're way stronger than I am. So like this isn't being said with any judgment. But no matter how good you are, when you go and train with like Willie George or like Matt Fraser or Rich or whoever, you must just feel like a piece of shit. Like when you're
I can really appreciate their commitment and their fitness. Now I'm stronger than most of them. But now when we went and trained with them, I was just there to show them off. Like we're just fans, isn't it, really, at the end of the day, that can make a cool video and go, yeah, look how fit this guy is or girl, you know?
You're kind of on that level though, especially when we were doing more CrossFit.
Yeah, I can appreciate.
You can hold your own.
Yeah, in certain workouts I can hold my own, but most of the time it was like the best thing that an athlete can be is self-aware, and I knew where I was and what my capabilities were at the time with the effort that I could put in. And obviously with us traveling the world and trying to build the business and with the YouTube and stuff, I didn't have the time to dedicate to be one of the top athletes. Like I could be a good athlete and I can understand how they feel through stuff and like have that inside perspective, but obviously I'm not at their level. And it was just, I could appreciate when I'm with them. I'm like, the work that they put in, you can clearly see it. It's like what you put in is what you're going to get out with CrossFit. That's why a lot of people are like the sport. The more effort you put in and the harder you work and the more consistent you stay, the better athlete you're going to be.
I was talking to my father-in-law about it yesterday. We were watching Granite Games and we were watching the rope climbs, and like he was talking about, you know, Well, his daughter said, like my sister-in-law was like, why did they run faster? Like, to get back to the rope. And I was like, because they won't be able to climb the rope. Like if they go back too quick, like they have to strategize about it. And she was like, oh, I just run faster and get back to the rope. I was like, oh, would you? Right. Okay. But her dad was like, we kind of, between the two of us, came to the conclusion that like to be successful, like top 5, there has to be something wrong with you. Like there has to be, because like to make it's
love it.
But like it's more than that though. It's like you have to love it more than anything else. Like you have to love it so much that you'll sacrifice like you often hear Fraser talk about like, no weddings, like missed out on being best man, missed out on going to weddings, parties, all that kind of stuff. Like it comes to the point where like every decision you make, and nowadays every decision you make pretty much year round, apart from like maybe the tail end of August, every decision you make is centered on, is this going to help me win the Invitational or Wodapalooza or the games or the Open or whatever. So like it is like, it's incredible. Like you see, when you see someone who loses loads of weight and you're like, God, they must have put in so much effort and they would have had to make so many hard choices. Like it pales in comparison to, because like if you go to the gym and you see someone who's, really fit in the gym, you're like, wow, they're really fit. And then you go to another gym and there's someone better and you're like, fuck, they're way better than that other guy. And then you go to like, a semi-final and you're like, geez, like the worst guy here is so much better than the best guy that I saw. And then you go to the games, you're like, holy hell, like the worst guy here is way better than the worst guy. It's like, it's just, it grows exponentially to the point where to get to the very top, you just have to be wired differently, I think.
Yeah, wired differently, train consistently, have that little bit of genetic advantage. Like I feel like it all comes into play. But I feel like that's like for CrossFit is one of those ones, it's a big effort sport. Like you just got to keep putting in effort and it's going to make you a better athlete. But I also feel like with any sport, if you want to be at the top, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to have that little bit of screw loose that goes, I'm going to go all in and like dedicate everything and put stuff off that, like I want to do to be number one. I feel like that's not just CrossFit. I feel like that's anything, to be fair.
I suppose CrossFit is you've more plates to spin. You can, if you're doing, I don't know, powerlifting, there's 3 areas of focus. Whereas like if you're doing CrossFit, it's like a decathlon and then some.
Yeah, it's very true.
So what are your aspirations then for weightlifting? Like what is your,
At the moment, I want to break both the British records just in my category. And that's like my only real goal at the moment, to be honest. I'm just enjoying training. Like I love it. Like for me, I go in every day, I write down the program, I tick it off. It just gets done. Like it's like very technical, which I really like, but then also you get to mix strength. And I was always a power athlete. So it just made sense. And the thing is with weightlifting, you can only really do it for like 2 to 3 hours a day maximum. So I get to do that in one session. And then I can just do more recovery stuff at home. Whereas obviously, if you want to be the best CrossFitter, you have to probably be doing multiple sessions a day with cardio involved and whatnot. So I found like I can give my all into something and actually be competitive with weightlifting, which has been very fun for me. But yeah, my goals are to break both the records. So I've got a snatch over 140 in competition, which at the moment I haven't missed a snatch under 140 anytime I've gone for it. So I hit 145 yesterday, which I'm really happy about. So I just got a couple of months until the English Championships where I'll do that. And then I've got a clean and jerk over 175, which will take a bit of time, but I'll get it done. Like
it's crazy, isn't it?
Then people are like Olympics or this competition or that competition. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm honestly just doing it because I enjoy it. Really.
Imagine being that good at something that you're just doing it because you enjoy it, but you're just going to try and get the records.
It's do you know what it is for me? He said it so nonchalantly. He was like, I just want to break the 2, like as if it was like, oh, I just want to go down the shop and get a jug of milk.
It's going to rock up.
Yeah.
It's like when we went to the British, Craig's very first competition, weightlifting ever, was the British Championships. Everyone's there suited and booted, the proper legit gear. Craig's on the end in his cargo pants and his hoodie. Looks like he's just rocked up off the street. These guys have been doing it for years. They are on strict training regimes. Craig just rocks up, hits a few lifts, wins it, goes home. I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
but I feel like I say the records things because I know I'm going to put in the work to get them.
Yeah.
But like if it takes me 2 weeks or 2 years, like I'm going to get them. So like I know that I'm going to put in what I need to put in to get them.
Well, that's not taking anything away from you. You're very, very good at what you do. Like
So
Craig's
that's kind of why I
incredibly
say it like that,
powerful,
you know.
but also the hours of weightlifting videos that this guy watches, hours and hours, just meticulously analyzing technique, like every single minor detail. It is incredible. Like that's why it's not necessarily that the strength is like suddenly skyrocketed out of nowhere, because like strength takes time, but your attention to detail with the technique especially is like where the massive PBs have come from. 100%.
Do you feel uncomfortable when, I don't know how comfortable you look when she's complimenting you on your does that like
Probably not very. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I'm just taking it in, close my eyes and absorb it, you know what I mean?
yeah, just like file it away to think about later. What was it like then when you, because obviously the way Jaz is explaining it there, you sounded different to the other people that were there in both your history in the sport and your approach to the event. Like, was there an air of snobbery towards you, do you think, or were you accepted pretty readily, or how did you feel?
Everyone was super nice,
Yeah.
super cool. I just have my own style, you know, like if I feel comfortable, I'm going to lift comfortable. I'm going to just do my thing. So like me coming out in a jumper and cargos, like when they announce you as like one of the lifters, that's just a way of me feeling comfortable for the day. And just like, if I feel comfortable, I'm going to feel like I'm in the gym at home, and that's how I'm going to lift. Whereas where I get the best out of me.
Hustle then, like I remember being at, I think it was Filthy 150, but it could have been, I'm like 9% sure it was Filthy 150, but like pre-sanctionals, it wasn't the year that Sam Briggs was there. It was a different year. So there was like sanctionals event. Then the year before, Sam Briggs was there, and it was in like an airport. And then the year before that, I think it was when you were there, and you had a team at it, I think, and you were wearing like tie-dye t-shirts.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Like
We've done so much stuff sometimes. I don't even know if we've done it.
But I remember then everyone was like, "Oh, that's cool! Like tie-dye t-shirts, that's cool." And then it was like, "Oh, it's obviously its own like clothing brand." And then people were like, "Oh yeah, that's like Team Richie, and that's the, you know, they have." And it, like I remember that was like the like to see what it is now and to think back to how it started for me is like, Jesus, that is incredible. Like that's an incredible
big milestone for us. Obviously, with Strength in Depth, we've never done like a proper vendor. Like obviously everything's online, it comes from the vlog and everything. This time we've got like a booth between Whoop and Nocco, who are two multi-million-pound businesses, and we're just like in the middle, and we've spent some money. It's a good marketing thing, but it's like it's going to be crazy for even me to see it, you know, in person, to see like where the brand has come from, to then be in between all of these big brands and be one of those brands that is, you know, like pretty big in the CrossFit space now, which is
I feel like we deserve to be there.
Yeah,
we've worked really hard.
But even like is this, so it seemed like from the outside looking in anyway, things were like busy and going well, and there was like consistent you know, drops. I fucking hate using that word. I just feel like I sound like such a dickhead when I say it. Other people can get away with it, but I just don't think I can.
Yeah, hype drops.
But there was consistent, like, you know, it was happening regularly throughout the year. And then COVID happened and everything went to shit for everyone in innumerable ways. And then after COVID, like looking back at what happened to Hustle during that period of time, seemed like that was like a cocoon stage or something, where I don't know what it was like on the inside, but from the outside looking in, it looks like you just were like, okay, what are we going to do when it goes back to normal, and how can we make it as good as we possibly can? Because since lockdowns and stuff have ended, you've now got like a raft of athletes that you're in a position to sponsor. You've got
14 so far.
You've got that, and like big athletes. It's not like it's some guy that you met like down your local gym or whatever. Like, no disrespect to anyone who goes there,
Yeah,
but like,
beautiful.
but like now you have internet, like, you know, Emily Rolfe's going to the games, like, you know, hopefully Jacqueline's going to the game. You know, like, you've got these international athletes competing at the highest level who are working with your brand, and as you say, you've got this stall at essentially regionals in between two global conglomerate type brands. Like, is it fair to say then that during that period is like, because that could have gone either way, really. You could have come out of COVID being like, oh, we fucking lost it, like we have to start from scratch. Like, was that the plan during that time? Because I suppose nobody knew how long it was going to last, but was that what you were doing?
I'm always working on it.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, my brain is always on hustle. It's what I do constantly. There's always stuff between me and Craig, like, what do we do next? What designs do we like? It's a constant thing. Like, you never switch off from it. We did actually move into our very first home at the beginning of lockdown, and we did a photo shoot for that launch against the kitchen wall. So all the website photos, it was very stressful.
But no, I don't know if you would say planning it, but you know, when you look at other businesses, I feel like we saved enough money and we went, all right, like, when we come out of lockdown, what we want to do is we want to, like, I mean, it's been tried and tested with all the other brands. We need to get athletes involved. I want to take hustle and move it away from just Jaz and I. I want it to be other people. I want it to be a team. I want it to be like, if people don't know about me and Jaz, I want someone to know about hustle, you know, and if like that can be cool, that's the next thing for us, for hustle to become standalone and not be like, oh, you're Craig and Jaz and you have that hustle thing. It's like, no, like, yes, but in the future you want it to be like, oh, look, hustle. They have all of these athletes and it's a standalone brand. And oh, I think those two YouTubers started it, but look where it is now, you know, like.
The plan always from the beginning was for hustle to outgrow us. I feel like if hustle can outgrow us, then that's an achievement in itself, because we've managed to grow it to the point where we are still obviously linked to it and people associate us with it, but it's not directly us.
It's like Gymshark, started by Ben Francis. It's now a $2 billion company or whatever, valued at. And people know that it was started by Ben Francis. A lot of people do, and they know about him. But then obviously it's just Gymshark, because it's this standalone thing. So that's kind of like our goal, is to make hustle its standalone thing. And they're like, oh yeah, these guys made it, you know.
And also, like, we've built it on like Hustle Made. Like, what it stands for is like, we've worked really hard for everything that we've got. We've not been given anything that we've got. You know, there might have been a bit of good luck and a bit of good timing with a few things, but you know, we've worked our ass off to get to where we are. Yeah. So and I feel like that is where the brand originated from, and then the community really reflect, can kind of like, you know, relate to it really well. And so it's a community brand. We've built it, we've got a team around us, like we've had people that have supported us in the channel for so long, and it's kind of grown from there. So it's always been about more than just me and Craig. Yeah. It's just making sure that we continue to push and grow. And you know,
I knew when we got to a certain point I wanted a clothing brand with the YouTube stuff, but I didn't know what. And then one day I sat down and I was like, man, I've hustled for everything that I've made. And then I was like, fucking hell, there we go, hustle made. Like, and then I was like, I didn't want it to say hustle because it was just, that's just a bit too cheesy. So I just kind of took out some of the vowels and it just worked. And I was like, there we go. Like,
this is still made. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you pick the athletes then that you have chosen so far? I would say, is there like a common thread between them?
Yeah, it's a mix between them being good athletes, but they don't have to be good athletes. I want good people. You know, I want people that I can, if we go and visit with the camera, people will be like, ah, they're cool. Like, that's a cool person. You know, like I want, like, and then if they can relate to someone, it doesn't have to be like one of the hustle athletes. It doesn't have to be us. If they relate to them, then they want to obviously buy from the brand too. That's why we have a multitude of different athletes.
Yeah, there's like some people that have supported us and like have just been with us since the beginning, and you know, we really appreciate their support, and just they've always been a part of the brand in our eyes. And then you meet people along the way, like Jackie, an incredible athlete, but she again, like, genuinely loved the brand. She liked what we did, you know, and she was already you can just kind of get a vibe off people when you talk to them, and she just completely fit with what we were doing. And you know, the same with Emily and a few other people. So it's like they're just, yeah, I can't describe it. It's just like a feeling, like they're just part of the crew, you know. It's yeah, they don't have to be number one. It's not, we're not trying to sell number one, we're trying to sell what hustle is, you know.
How do you feel like the season has panned out so far? So like we've got one weekend of semi-finals left. I know you
Man, we were nearly cursed, I tell you that. That's what I said. I said if Emily finished outside the top 5 at Granite Games, I think we're shutting down the company, honestly. Nah, Luca's an incredible
you
athlete.
can cut that bit out. That's a rubbish bit to leave in.
I'm joking. People can tell, like, obviously Luca is such an incredible athlete. He's one of the people, like, he went into the weekend fitter than 99% of the people on the planet, and he just missed out. Royce in Australia, super competitive region, just misses out. And I'm like, this weekend I was like, oh no, like Emily's an incredible athlete, and I'm like, I just don't want it to be tainted. I'm like, but then she bossed it, and she did what Emily does best and just crushes most of the workouts. And it was like,
yeah,
but I feel like the season's actually panned out okay. Like I do miss the sanctional season. I preferred the sanctional season. I felt like it was more of like a tour around the world, and it was like super hype. And you obviously had these big events that just wanted to put it on. You know, you're in Miami one week, Dubai the next week, you're in like Norway the week after, and I thought that was really cool. But this back to old school season's fine. It's playing out how it plays out.
Yeah, I think like selfishly, the sanctional season was better because it was more on, it was more regular, there was more, you know, you had like a constant up and down, whereas like now it's kind of like there's this, you know, a succinct structure to the year where you're kind of like, oh, like from August onwards, it's going to be kind of quiet. But then I suppose you got the off-season events, and you know. But I think for the athletes, it's probably better to be like, I need to peak at this period of time, rather than like, okay, well, I need to peak in like, you know, November.
Well, I honestly feel when you looked at it before, like like when sanctionals first came out, everyone was super confused about the whole. They were like, "What is happening? How do you qualify?" Blah blah blah. But then after a year of that, everyone kind of got the gist and was like, "All right, like you miss out because you're ill over the Open or something. You can prepare for a sanctional later on in the year," and I think that's pretty cool. All of the people watching were like, "Okay, there's a games ticket here, here," and you'd have a lot of big athletes turn up at the events, so then the events would be cool. Whereas I feel like at the moment, now that we've gone back to kind of quarterfinals, semi-finals, whatever, you'll have a hit of CrossFit where everyone's like, whoa, this is crazy. And then it goes quiet. And then it's like semi-finals, a hit of CrossFit down. I feel like it's just a different style, you know? And I feel like the season competitions then don't get as much hype because they're not obviously offering a ticket to someone to go to the games. Whereas before people would watch them because they're like, who's gonna come to the games out of Dubai? Who's gonna come out of the games out of Wadapalooza?
Yeah, I suppose the thing, like, there's probably outliers, like say Rogue, Dubai, Wadapalooza are outliers because they always have like, especially Rogue, have just a whopper prize purse, and like they're always going to be big. But yeah, the other events, it's kind of hard. Like they, you know, like pardon the pun, but they really have to hustle to get any kind of relevance in the rest of the year because they're just going to be overshadowed by, like, if you ask any games level athlete, what competitions would you like to do in the off season? They generally say like, well, hopefully I get invited to Rogue and it'd be cool to do Wadapalooza for the first time or again. And then Dubai would be if one of those doesn't work, Dubai would be the other one. Do you know, like, so it's hard to find your niche in that little gap. But I suppose even looking at the semi-finals now, where you have those events that are programmed by the event managers themselves or the directors themselves, and then I just feel like you maybe shouldn't be able to have a conversation of, oh, I wonder would that guy have done better or would that girl have done better with the workouts at that other semi-final last week or at the other semi-final next week. I kind of feel like it's like, because it's out of their control, different if they could pick. So if you had like, say, I don't know, like Jacqueline could pick Sid or Lowlands and she was like, strength and depth. Then that's her, like she's done it. Like she's made that call. But I think it's harsh saying like, here's your lottery pick, you're in this semi-final, and then the two semi-final workouts are like similar but different enough that it could make a difference where you
Yeah,
ended
and
up.
if you're
you
the
know?
fittest on earth and you want to be the fittest on earth, like you should come out on top at the semi-final and qualify regardless of the workouts, unless they literally completely put all power workouts, which you would hope that CrossFit would overlook and be like, no, look, I feel like they have a jury somewhere in CrossFit that actually okays the workouts.
Yeah, I think they gave them bumpers this year. That was the thing. They were like, there had to be a 12-minute, and it had to have this, that, and the other in it, or whatever. But yeah, you look at, like, say, Matt DeLugo's yesterday clipping his feet on the pull-ups, and it's like, man, if the pull-ups hadn't been in that workout, he probably would have gone to the games.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
but I
sad.
guess that could happen in the sanctions anyway. So
Yeah, I think it's difficult because, like, a number of things, like Craig said about, like, if the athlete's not feeling very well or whatever, like you can just do a different sanction, or, like, you know, things happen, or if you'd like got a bit of an injury or whatever. Whereas, like, when it's now back to the old way, it's you know, puts a lot more pressure on people to be right at exactly the right times. Yeah, and the workouts, it's always going to be variable, isn't it? There's no, I think it's interesting that I wonder if they have to have picked their workouts and had them, like, signed off by CrossFit before they know what athletes are coming to their event.
Probably.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they had to tell them there was a date. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but it was like in February or March. I think that they had to input their workouts and get them okayed.
Yeah.
And then they, oh no, there was a date where they had to put in their workouts, and then there was another date where CrossFit got back to them and said, this isn't going to work, or that's fine, or that late. To be honest, I think a lot of the stuff was like safety and transitions and, like layout kind of stuff,
Yeah.
rather than they gave them bumpers of, like, you need to have a chipper, it needs to be this long, and you need to have one with an out and back, and one with, calories on the echo bike, or one, because they all have that distance on the rower or distance on the runner. Like, all the semifinals have that. So I assume that was a common thread. Anyway, we could get lost in the weeds here.
It's been pretty fun though. Like,
yeah,
I feel like there's been
events.
races to the finish.
Yeah, no, it has. But like every weekend of semifinals, you're on the edge of your seat being like, who's fifth, who's sixth?
Yeah.
And like, that's always a good, and you got like stuff like Will Morad and, like these crazy stories where, that's what makes the sport.
Competition.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's been really fun to watch, even though we prefer the sanctional season. It has been really fun, this semi-finals. I can't wait for this weekend. It's going to be...
Yeah, no, it's going to be amazing. So you guys both did CrossFit and trained CrossFit and trained together regularly, and then so when he started training weightlifting, did you start training weightlifting as well? Have you kind of like, is it hard to stick to doing the training that you were doing when he trains differently now, or have you just kind of blended it?
I like just being told what to do. Otherwise, I'll just pick the fun stuff.
Whatever I do, Jaz just ends up doing. I was writing down the program, Jaz was doing it too. Like, it doesn't really matter what training you really do you?
No.
You like to do a bit of a sweat every so often, but if we're just doing something every day training wise, you'll just get involved.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do my own little sweat just because it makes me feel a bit better. Doesn't make me feel quite so guilty on eating the pizza, But like my goals are very different to Craig's, and but ultimately I like to train. It makes me feel good, but I'm there to kind of support you in your goals to get to where you need to be, because you're actually good at it. So you're the priority.
And every strong man is a beautiful woman that's looking after him, right?
I've just got to not get fat.
you just shout lightweight from behind the camera every so often, and that's your job done. Well, look, I'll let you go. We'll finish with a quick fire. So I guess I always find it awkward doing two people with these. You can just both answer.
So just shout.
Yeah.
So dumbbell or barbell?
Dumbbell.
Barbell. 100 million. That's all I use now.
Thruster or burpee?
Probably just a thruster. It's a barbell again, isn't it?
Burpee.
This is how
you made us do that horrible thruster workout that time, though. Can you remember?
No, I can't. I've erased it from my memory.
We had to be unbroken. It's like 13 sets.
This is meant to be quick fire.
Sorry. We digress.
No, this is a good insight, though, because it shows how both of you protect yourselves. Craig just burns it from his memory, and Jaz holds on to it so she never has to do it again.
Traumatized by the experience.
Shaking in the corners, like just whispering thrusters. Run or row?
Run. Absolutely. Hate rowing.
I'd probably row, but if it was like a really long duration, maybe I'd just run.
Rowing is not for short people.
That's 3 out of 3 that we've not agreed on, but we'll carry on.
We go for a clean sleep. Bike or ski?
Bike.
Oh, I
You
actually quite
know
like
you
both.
like the bike though.
Yeah, I do, but I do like the ski.
No,
But I
she's lying.
if I had to choose bike.
Yeah.
Gymnastics or cardio?
Ooh,
Gymnastics. Strict.
Probably.
Because it's pretty much bodybuilding, isn't it?
Gymnastics is quite fun.
Lifting or vlogging?
Well, I couldn't really have one without the other, to be honest.
Vlogging.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It was great to actually have a normal conversation and not make a twat of myself in 5 seconds. I'll hope to see you at the weekend in London. And this will come out after that. So congratulations on your successful launch at Strength and Depth last weekend.
Thank you.
It was crazy. It was crazy how many people missed all the events because they were queuing up and there was just no crowd for anything. It was
really
madness.
wild. Did you see the side when the stand fell down?
Crazy. Luckily, there was no one there because they were all queuing up for the shop.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and sure, I'll wave or something in London.
Yes.
Amazing. Come and say hi.